right, and welcome back to the Joe and Co podcast. Today we are going to interview our producer Brandon. You know, without Brandon, we wouldn't even have a podcast. I would be so lost in all this. It would look like amateur hour so bad. There's no way we would have had the balls to try to do a video podcast.
Oh yeah, we'd be sitting in the garage with my iPhone on a tripod recording it.
Right, or in my shop next to the train rolling by. I can't hear anything.
Yeah.
You know, Brandon's pretty much done the whole studio, got us the microphones, told us what we needed, everything. So, yeah, we already got a good start to Brandon. Like I said last time, we're kind of doing this interviewing each other to practice and also to get to know, so their listeners and viewers can get to know the people that are going to be on the podcast, that if they want to continue to listen, they're going to get to know. So, last time we started with some icebreakers. I think we do that same thing again. It seemed to work out well. Matt was totally floored by some of the questions.
Yeah, I overthink shit.
Some dead air.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's all right. Billy Joel's got your back.
I covered pretty well. I think you guys got a good picture of about how many brain cells I'm working with today. So
Right. So, let's start with Brandon. What kind of food don't you eat? What don't you like?
Oh, what don't I like? Man, I'm a fat kid. I'm not really a big fan of like Mediterranean food.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I like hummus and stuff, but if I go to a Mediterranean restaurant, I'm usually picking like the most Americanized thing there. That makes sense.
Yeah, I get it. All right. So, what about your dream car? Or dream vehicle, rather?
Dream vehicle. If I had to pick one, it's gonna be a motorcycle. What motorcycle? I don't know. I'd probably it's something like real custom built. Like, I don't know, something just. It'd be something like real custom built, like frame, like not even frame. Like you build the frame, you build the everything, and then, I don't know, find a motor from something. But
right, how fast is it gonna go?
Fast, like race car fast.
Right.
Yeah.
If you've got the balls, it has the balls.
Yeah, exactly. If you're willing to do it, it'll do it.
All right. Okay. What about your celebrity hero? Who is somebody anybody that, is well known? Who is your hero?
Hero is a little strong, but I think I look up to, who Chad Gray is, the singer from Mudvayne.
Yeah.
And Hell Yeah. Yeah. Dude been through a lot, has interesting stories, stuff that speaks to me. And, I think he's a cool dude.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So please don't hate me when I tell you I've already met him.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I have too at a Hell Yeah concert. So
I met him after a Mudvayne concert years ago. It was cool.
hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Okay. So, that being said, is Mudvayne your favorite band? Hell yeah. Or what's your favorite band?
Favorite band. All right, two answers. Favorite band, like all time, is probably Pantera. Just because, like, when I was a kid, it played a lot, listened to it a lot. When I got in a guitar, this is their whole thing. But a band that's like currently actually putting out music, probably Avatar, like a Swedish metal band.
Mm-hmm.
And they just do a lot of really cool out of the box stuff.
Right. They're pretty technical, right?
Yeah. I'd say so. I mean, there's probably people that'd be like, no, they're, but I'd say it's, impressive to say the least. It's not like they're just a punk rock band in a basement type of thing.
Right. So your family situation is that you and your wife just don't have any kids. So, I know, there's the typical, dad goes to work, mom goes to work, mom makes the dinner. But I want to know, what does Brandon make well? What does Brandon cook well?
Hamburgers.
Hamburgers?
Yeah. And not just but like real, going, what would be the word? Boutique hamburgers? Bougie. Yeah. Bougie hamburgers.
So what are we doing to the hamburger?
Man, it depends. I've done lots of different things. I do, I used to do would be when we make the hamburgers, you stuff them with cheese. So there's like a solid center of cheese. Some people don't like it, and that's fair. But I like cheese because cheese is cool. But outside of that, man, you ever like had marinated burgers?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just stuff like that. Just doing, more than just in a pan and doing that. Not that I do that all the time, but, uh, I am guilty of just throwing a hamburger in, throwing some salt on it, and we're good. But
Right. Yeah, we put pickles in them once. Like chopped them real fine and put the pickles in the burger.
Yeah.
So we didn't have like the full pickle, but just a little bit of pickle flavor. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. So what kind of what's your favorite pizza?
pizza, oh, that's easy. Pan pizza, chicken, ham, mushrooms, and jalapenos on it, with a like white sauce.
With a white sauce. So is there a certain place you go to for that?
I just ordered Domino's. To be
Domino's?
honest, it's easier. But there used to be a pizza place down by, I don't remember what it's called, but it was off Harry and Webb that I'd get the same thing from.
Yeah, it sucks when you have like a favorite of something and the place closes.
Yeah.
That's the worst. So what is your favorite food then?
My favorite food is, man, pizza's pretty up there because it's kind of, you can have everything. But yeah, I'm just gonna say pizza. That's like easy, a cop
Okay.
out. Yeah.
What is pineapple? Does pineapple belong on pizza? This is gonna be the hot button topic.
Yeah, if you like it, like that's cool. There's people like weird things on pizza. That's cool. I know people. I've had people look at me when I order jalapenos on a pizza. They're like, "What are you doing?" But so if people like, I don't order pineapple on my pizza. But if you do, cool.
Right. If I had pineapple on my pizza and offered you some,
Yeah, I'd eat it. I'd try it. Like, might be good.
right. Okay. So what is your favorite movie or a couple of movies? I know it's really hard to say. One.
No, I do. My favorite movie, A Clockwork Orange.
Okay.
Damn, you guys gave me a look. My favorite director is Stanley Kubrick. So like not every Stanley Kubrick movie, but a lot, like the big ones, right? But like Clockwork Orange, Space Odyssey, like those type of. But Clockwork Orange, definitely my favorite movie.
That's an interesting movie choice.
Yeah, I get that. It just saw it as a kid, and there's a lot of stuff going on. And I say as a kid, like not when I was like 7.
I was like,
But
your parents.
were
made
you
some
on
questionable
mushrooms?
decisions.
No, I was not. But yeah, I saw it as like a young adult. Let's put it that way. And there's just a lot going on there. There's a lot of, there's a lot of meta to that movie. So, and it's Stanley Kubrick. So there's a lot of goofy shots and things that are drawn out that kind of, I understand why people might not like that movie.
Right. I seem to remember him like picking up some weird shape thing and like humping with it. And I didn't exactly understand. I think it was sober when I saw it.
I need to rewatch it sober because I've never seen it sober.
Yeah. It's, I mean, it's not everyone's cup of tea.
Right.
Other than that though, what's Inglourious Bastards, Django, like those. Yeah. But Stanley Kubrick movies are like the big ones.
Okay. All right. And what about books? Are you a reader?
I'd read. I don't like, I guess I don't like, I'm not a reading first type of guy. But books, A Clockwork Orange, when I read that book, I like that. I don't know if I read the book or saw the movie first, but they're quite different, but at least in the endings. So I like that as a book. Kind of hard to read just because of it's a very adult book. So not adult in that sense, but like it's a very like grown up book. So it's kind of hard to read when you're like 15. You're like kind of following along. It's kind of hard. But other than that, I like Stephen King books a lot. Cujo was like, I think that was the first book I ever did a book report on. So
Yeah, I didn't understand book reports or why they were important when I was a kid. Like I just read, like I read in volume. And so I was like, no, I don't want to write about the book. It's already been written, Mo. But,
Oh, how the tables have turned.
right. Or Matt's mentioning that because we probably will do some kind of book reports over books that we've read and, stuff we've learned from them. So we were going to be like professional book reporters. Things I never thought I'd say as a child. Okay. So, on the podcast, we're going to have guests who is the ultimate guest? Like living or dead, doesn't matter. Who did Brandon want interviewed?
I have this is you will look at me like this is a cop out answer. George Washington, 100%.
Okay. Okay. Why? I mean, I understand he's the founding father,
Yeah.
the top.
I mean, not just that, he's like at the time, he's like 6'4" or something, 6'3". I don't know. He's a giant dude. He's a giant amongst men, like at the time, around British people and stuff. They just see this giant dude leading America, the whole thing. And he's young. Like, you know, he wasn't like a 50-year-old dude doing all this. I don't know, he was in his 20s or something. So,
Right.
yeah, it'd just be very interesting to hear.
That's pretty cool. I actually never really paid attention to how tall he was or anything like that. That would, paint a whole different picture on the guy.
Yeah. I don't know exactly how tall, but I know he was considered like very tall.
Did you ask me alive or dead?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Man, it's so funny sitting over here now. Continue. My bad.
Well, no. We got time. Who is it?
Daniel Boone.
Daniel Boone. Okay.
Who's that?
Daniel Boone was a famous frontiersman.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Like
Daniel Boone was a man. He was a big man.
Yeah,
But the
yeah,
bear
yeah.
was bigger, so he ran up the tree.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, but yeah, George Washington, or Abraham Lincoln, like just people that have been through. I mean, there's just people that were in that you just don't have a lot of information about, right? Like there's other people you could talk to, or there's other people that we have a lot of information on, have a lot of speeches from and stuff. But those people that you don't, have news articles about and stuff, that would be way more interesting.
Right. I'd kind of like to wrestle Abe Lincoln.
Yeah,
Like he was a badass.
yeah.
And I don't know. I wouldn't care if I'd win. I just, okay. What was it? What was wrestling looking like back then? So, okay. You have a ton of talent, and we know a lot about your talents, a ton of different talents. It almost seems like mastery. I know you know all your ways that you could grow in them. What is the talent you haven't told anybody about?
Man, let's see now. Matt's looking at me because it's like I actually have to think about this one.
Barbershop Quartet.
Yeah.
9-volt better.
Yeah. That's good. A talent. Probably something like, I don't know. I don't know if I have like a talent you guys don't know about. Yeah, I cannot think of one you guys don't know about.
Right. That one's kind of an abstract one, but I know it's going to hit at some point when I ask somebody and they're going to throw us some kind of crazy curveball that,
Yeah, I think it'd be easier if I didn't know you guys. Like if you guys didn't know me as well, because I could be like, oh yeah, this, and you guys go, oh, but
Right. I just didn't know if, shower singing professionally was, on the horizon or.
no, no. I beatbox a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like well, but like I walk around the house beatbox and my wife gets really pissed off.
Are we going to get a sample?
No, it's gonna sound like terrible on the mic, and I'm not good. I'm not like good at it at all. But
He immediately goes to the tech side. He's like, no, this is not the situation for that.
Exactly.
Good save.
Right. Outstanding. So, okay, that kind of, gets us started. You know who we're talking to. I met Brandon 2 years ago ish.
Like 3 Septembers ago.
3 Septembers ago. So 2.5 years, kind of met him, through his dad. His dad and I ride motorcycles. There's a group of us like to ride around in the summer and, go to some different states, go to some different stuff. And his dad said, hey, do you mind if I bring my son? And I was like, I hadn't met Brandon because, he's the adult son. I didn't meet him as like one of the kids. And so I'm like, can he ride? Well, little that I know, this guy shows up and, rides better than I do. So, I mean, rides well, the bike's just a killer. It's definitely, I got a little envy on, the way you've built your bike up. It's nice, no hard bags.
I'm getting blown up right now. So
I think we're the only ones that ride in that group that don't have floorboards.
I have
you have
miniature.
boards?
I have miniature floorboards. I don't like full size floorboards, but I've been thinking about going back to pegs. But it is nice being able to like move my feet around a little bit when we're going for 6-7 hours at a time.
Right. Right. Yeah, it'd probably be nice to have hard bags too, but I don't know.
I don't like the way they look.
I don't either. Form over comfort.
Mm-hmm. Everyone stare at Matt.
Everybody's staring at Matt. But then when we show up to go on a ride, everybody's staring at us like these poor dumb bastards.
Yeah, hey, we need something. Matt's like, oh, I got that in my bag.
Right.
PB&J's, bro.
Yeah.
Come on.
Dude, what are you talking about? Matt's got it in his bag. You like whip out a tourniquet,
Yeah,
and a
yeah.
siphon tube, and
That was
somebody else.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
someone else.
But you
I
have
just
a
used
tourniquet.
Yeah, I do have a tourniquet and stuff. You know.
Right, right. You know, because not everybody rides as well as Brandon does. So that's how I met Brandon. And so, man, tell me about, like, what was it like being a little kid? Like, what was being a little kid like?
Little kid was that was pretty cool. You know, being a kid's cool. You got no responsibilities. You know, both my parents were like 20-ish when they had me, so like my parents were around, but they were still working and stuff. Wasn't until you know, went fishing, went like, you know, my dad and my mom went fishing, went camping, stuff like that. I remember being a kid one time sitting out in the garage with my dad, and we're throwing Ninja Stars into a piece of like loose drywall we have propped up against the thing, and cool stuff like that.
Who won? Did you guys
What?
have like a target? Did you?
Nah, I was just throwing them at him.
Right, right.
I think my dad had actually made them at like the welding shop or something he was working at.
Okay. Yeah, not the ultra competitive.
No, it's just, you know, two dudes in there being dudes.
Right, right. And hanging with dad.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. So, like, as far as camping, you know, I don't know. I found myself, you know, and Matt and I were talking earlier about there's a certain part of camping I enjoy the most. And I'd like to know, like, when you're camping, like, what part is your favorite?
The part that's my favorite about camping is that we're out there, and usually when you're camping, like you can fish and stuff too. And that means I don't have a deadline on when I have to stop fishing. I can start at, you know, 5 p.m. and it can be 5 a.m. It's like, okay, I'm tired now. Now I'm going to go to bed. But there's not like I got to leave to get back home, or the place is closing or anything like that. So that's probably my favorite part. I also typically don't camp with like a lot of people. It's usually, you know, like growing up, it was just me, my mom, and my dad, and brother and sister. But it wasn't like big camp out type of things.
Yeah. Is that where you learned your burger honing skills?
Man, I feel like we always just ate hot dogs. I feel like we were just lazy and just hot dogs over a fire. And I don't think we like really cooked.
Right. Knowing your dad, that totally checks out. I don't think I've ever eaten his cooking.
You know, growing up, I'm trying to think of a time that I remember him like helping cook or like making hamburgers and stuff like on the grill, but that was always my mom thing. So I can't think of like him making a pasta and us eating it and being like, oh, this spaghetti is really good, Dad. So yeah, he might have some weaknesses there.
Right, right. Well, you know, I did just, you know, he is in charge of cooking for our camp out, the food provision for our camp out this year. That might get interesting. I might have made a tactical error. I'm sure he'll do fine. Just giving a rough time. So, you know, you go camping, you throw in Ninja Stars with dad, you know, what are you, 4 or 5, 6 years old?
Yeah, I mean, 4 or 5, 6, 7. Let's see. That Ninja Star thing happened when I was in 3rd grade. So whatever age you are at 3rd grade.
Yeah.
9. I
9.
think, 8 or 9.
Yeah. And how were you as a student, as a kid, like as a little kid?
Average to good.
Average
Like,
to good.
I never got in trouble. I got in a fight once. But it was like kids fighting, you know what I mean? They just like grab each other and like pull their hair. But it wasn't like big. It just like, I don't know if my parents even got told about it. Like it just like they separated us and it was cool. It was like maybe lasted like 5 seconds. But other than that, like never got in trouble in like elementary school or anything.
Do you still remember that kid's name?
Nope.
Okay.
I couldn't even, if I tried like if you held a gun to my head, I don't think I could ever tell you.
That's good. That's good. You remember the fight, but not the person.
I don't even remember the fight. I don't remember what it was about. I just remember I just remember the teacher. Oh, nope. You guys are done.
Right. Right. So, did you get into extracurriculars in like elementary, middle school, or was that later on?
Mm, I was in a play in like fourth grade. Um, some Halloween play. I don't remember what it was. Wasn't really into it. It was just we had like a music class and they decided to put on a play. So I was in it.
Right.
But outside of that, I didn't really have any like didn't play sports that I can think of as like a little kid. Um, Mostly because like I think depending on the year and stuff, like my mom was working second shift or my dad was working second shift or both of them were, and I was getting babysitted. So just no time effort or not effort, but there's no time to do it.
Right. Right. If you were like, did you have ones you wanted to do or?
Um, Man, I think there was I think like third grade, and me and my little brother wanted to do Boy Scouts, and I think my parents were gonna go sign us up. I think I remember being there, and then they were like, "Oh, this is super expensive. Yeah, we can't do this." Um, but other than that, not really. I don't know. I was kind of cool just hanging out with my parents. Didn't really need to go do sports.
Right. Right. And you're the oldest, right?
Yep.
And you got a brother and a sister,
Got a brother and sister. They're 3 and 4 years younger, respectively.
respectively. I read a lot as a kid. It took me till I was like an adult to figure out what that actually meant.
I still don't know what it means. I just I'm just that's how people use it, and I'm using it correctly, so it's fine.
Right. Right. It means in that order.
Oh yeah, there you
Right.
go.
Right.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. We learned a thing today.
We did.
Shut it down. We're good.
Teacher Joe.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. But so tell me about getting into high school. What life started to look like. Things.
So into third grade, maybe like beginning of fourth grade, my parents split up. My dad ends up having like a drug alcohol problem. He moves out of state to go and try to get away from it, at least from what I was told. The whole thing's kind of hazy. So then we moved to Derby, went to fourth grade in Derby, fifth grade in Derby, sixth grade. Everything's pretty chill. Seventh grade. Then I'm in eighth grade. I get expelled in eighth grade for a kid had bullying issues with him, and I was talking a little smack, and he reported me for basically like threats of violence, and that was like the Bush era zero tolerance policy at schools. So just got expelled over that. And so then repeated eighth grade. Nothing really ever, just normal student, nothing really crazy. That expulsion was like the craziest thing, but nothing really happened to it. It was just kind of they did a little investigation. Did you say these things? Yeah, I did. Well, that's violence threats, and there was some other stuff involved, but yeah. So then I go freshman year. I guess through like all of this, I kind of had issues with like bullying, mostly because I was going to school in Derby. A lot of kids, their parents are more well off, not they're at least middle to upper middle class. Where I'm, at this point, like my mom's single mom and raising us. And so I got some bullying for like my dad not being around, kids would be like, oh, well, Brandon's dad's in prison and that kind of stuff. Oh yeah. Somewhere in there, my dad went to prison. I don't remember when, but, that did happen. And then, yeah, played a little bit of sports. I played one summer of like an auxiliary. I don't know what you'd call it, but it's like an auxiliary football league. And we did it for one summer. It was kind of like a thing to do for the kids that played football on the teams normally, so they could like stay in the game, would play in the summer when school's out and stuff. And so I played on that. It was cool. We went undefeated. I caught the only 2 interceptions in our league, or at least on my team.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you get a run with the interceptions or?
Nope. You just the rules were weird. That's why I don't know. I think it was like 8-man football or something. It wasn't like normal exact football, but yeah, if you caught an interception, it just was down where it was. So, I'd have to like look and see what exactly we were playing. But
That's communism.
yeah,
I'm just joking.
Of the highest order.
Respectively.
Respectively, brother.
That sounds like a good cologne name, dude.
Respectively, brother.
Yeah, it smells like leather and sweat.
Why did I just picture the Village People? Moving on.
Yeah, good call. So your dad had gone to prison. Like, how big of a deal was that to you?
So, it was kind of weird. Like, so it was like at the beginning of fourth grade, my parents split up, and I remember standing outside of our new house. We moved to this trailer park. My mom's like, "Hey, this is what's going on. Your dad's gonna be gone for a while." And that's when he went to Florida and was living with my mom's mom and her husband working. Um, and so this was weird to me because I had seen my parents like fight a little bit beforehand, but I'm not gonna say like they hid it from me. They just didn't weren't like, hey, we're fighting about this right now. They just kind of kept it to themselves. So all of a sudden, my parents just, it wasn't like there was at least for me, I didn't like notice a big divorce coming. Like it wasn't like this is inevitable. It was like, oh, what? Like, next day everything's turned upside down. So it was weird that my dad was just gone and not around. I know I probably asked my mom like things like, when's dad coming back, or this kind of thing. But yeah, it was hard. Like just because you're like a young 10-year-old kid, and all of a sudden your dad, like you had a good dad who was around and like awesome, and then just gone. So you're kind of it was rough. I got picked on a little bit for just because kids are mean. So
Right. Kids are kind of ruthless at that stuff.
yeah,
I don't understand what it feels like. It takes a little while and some life experience for them to experience some of this stuff to realize like why that's shitty.
yeah. So, but yeah, then sometime in there went to prison, doing drugs and stuff, and I don't know what it was, but it was just like seeing it all. I'd seen him like he heard people complain that he had stolen from them or something like that, and I was like, I hate my dad now, and not really. It wasn't like I hate my dad, but it was just I hate who my dad is. So when he was in prison, I was like, I'm never gonna go see him. My grandma would take my brother and sister to go see him. I said, nope. If he wants to see me, he can get out of prison and stop doing what he's doing. Um, and but like at the same time, I'm like internally like begging for my dad back. So it was kind of a weird thing. And he would come, he would like he was clean and sober for a little bit, like 6 months to a year, a little stint, and he like kind of moved back in with us. My mom let him come back and like kind of stay with us. But through all of this, my mom was pretty independent and not like, letting him come and like gaslight her and all this stuff. She's like, all right, I'll give you another chance. And then he messed that one up, and she's like, all right, well, we're done. Like, we're not ever getting back together. So,
Right. Fair enough. You got to have your boundaries.
yeah. So, but like he'd come back and I tried to just be welcoming, I didn't try to be like, hey, you're not my dad anymore or anything like that. It just kind of was like, all right, well, let's just try to act like everything's normal again. And, it took him a couple more tries, but, now, now I think we're super cool. I've, especially the past few years, I've seen him more than I've ever seen him, hung out more, talked to him more. He's got a wife and, her kids now and stuff. So he's doing good.
Heck yeah. So, just because we've talked before, like, tell me about you had like a interesting high school experience with like a couple years off in there, or
Yeah.
some things.
So, freshman year of high school, I dropped out. Basically, I kind of dropped out. I was just not having a good time, either skipping school, going and doing other stuff, partying or whatever, and just kind of general like not about it. Got really good grades on tests and things, but if there was homework, it was not getting done. Just refused. Nope, won't do it. But I'll get a A in every single, get like a 98 or higher on every test. But if there's homework, nope. So that causes your grades to be really low. And then I kind of just like, I don't know if I just stopped refusing to go to or I just started refusing to go to school, or if my mom just saw it coming. But she was like, all right, well, let's move you to like an alternative school. And there's a school called Cancel. And so freshman year, I went to there. I dropped out like halfway through freshman year and went to that school. Day one of that school, they had me take an entrance test, and they're like, oh, you test way too high to even be here. Like you just need to go get your GED. You're done. Oh, okay, cool. So I get signed up for what at the time was WATC and go take their testing center thing. Go in there, pass all the tests, got like, scored super high on them. Awesome. Got my GED. So then I was just out of school for, so I was out of school. I was done. My mom,
15.
I think so, 15 or 16. Like, school years are weird. My birthday's in the summer. So it's like, I don't remember.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, 15 or 16. So then I just, my mom's like, all right, you go get a job. Or I can't really get a job because I'm like 15. So she's like, you need to think about what you need to do for school, like college. And I'm like, okay, so I'll work on college. And so I told her I want to go do automotive stuff. So she signs me up for WATC's automotive class, but they won't take me till I'm 17. So I was 16 because they won't take me until I'm 17. So I had to wait a whole year. So I just hung out for a year. And in that year did a lot. This was like, did a lot of fucking around, a lot of partying, a lot of that kind of stuff. Dubstep was like really big then. So I was going to a lot of raves and that kind of stuff. I had a friend that was a DJ who was like 19 or 20 and yeah, lots of weird stuff going on there.
Yeah. That's a lot of fun for the kid. And that is like the parent's worst nightmare when when a young adult makes friends with their high school kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's luckily I was a boy, so it wasn't weird.
Right. Yeah. So, and so talk us through. You had talked to me and told me like somewhere in that time frame, you were, one of the best video game players around some games. Qualify this for me.
Yeah. So, through that whole year off, and then also like through college, just lots of like free time on that year off because like I can't hang out with friends at like when I'm off school or I'm out of school for a whole year, and so when I can't hang out with my friends I have nothing to do because they're all at school or at work and it's middle of the day, so I got tons of time. So I was playing video games just all the time, and in a particular video game, they had like a tracking thing, so a website you could go onto, and you would get you could go and look, and you could see like all the stats for people like in that. You could go from like state to country to worldwide level. So like you look at state, national, and worldwide, and on there I was like constantly changing out with the dude for the state of Kansas, like top 1 or 2. And it's like not overall, like it kind of went by like game modes you played and certain other stats, but I was like swapping out with him, and then and for like the national thing, I was kind of barreling between like from like 5th to like 10th. It would go up and down, because you fall asleep and then other people are on and your things have switched back and forth. It's like that's how like close everyone was, is that like 3 hours difference could change it.
Wondering, with you being that close, and you said it was like you and one other guy in that ranking thing. Do you still remember who that guy? Do you know who he was, or do you remember his, what do they call it, a gamer tag?
It wasn't exactly just one other. I think it was like 5 of us, like kind of going back and through. I could probably look and find him because I did add him and like we chatted a little. Like it wasn't like it was like friendly competition, you know what I mean? Because like no one really, it's a thing that doesn't really matter.
You're not getting paid.
Yeah, we're not getting paid. We're not nothing. So I could probably look that up and find it, but I can't think off the top of my head what his name was. He lives in Kansas City.
Right on.
Hi. You live in Kansas and it's like 85 degrees outside. AC is really important. Joe Fry from J Fry Enterprises runs a heating and air company. If you're in the Wichita area, where else?
Man, 50-mile radius.
50-mile radius of Wichita, J Fry Enterprises. Heating, cooling, ductwork, commercial, residential. Call the guy. He's here for you.
So lots and lots of video games, lots and lots of partying. What kind of trouble were you getting into at those raves? Not what were we getting caught? What kind of trouble were you getting into?
Man, we were lots of girls and lots of just not even just including that year I was out of like school and everything. There was one year my car broke down and my dad gave me let me use his old van he had. And it was an old beat up Plymouth Voyager and minivan. And I remember we would pile me and my one friend and like 4 or 5 girls that we were friends with, and we'd go to these raves. And luckily I never really got caught, but we were, I mean, you know, it was like they would it's probably just because it's Kansas. I don't know. It might not be like this other places, but like these would be like in a, you know, like, you know where Leon is, it'd be like in a pole barn in Leon or something. Or Wellington. I'm trying not to like out anybody that I'm thinking
Sure.
of, but like Wellington or Winfield or like those kind of places. There probably were ones in Wichita, but I guess I just wasn't cool enough to go to those ones. Yeah, never got them broken up by cops or anything that I can think of. Might have left beforehand or something.
Right. Yeah. No, that's I've always wondered, you know, in Kansas, where the hell are their raves?
Yeah, it was. I was kind of like dumbfounded, but like I think it was just like that was a young kid. Like say young kid, but like that was like that was like the party. You know, there was no, it wasn't. There probably were house parties, but that was like the, you know, EDM and all that music was getting real big, and yeah, they just, I don't know. I don't know if it was like just dudes that owned these things, or my parents own this bar and we can go host it in there, or how, I don't know how they did that. These might have been venues, I guess. I don't know.
Right. Right. Did they cost money to get in?
Not, yes, but not for me, because we always brought girls with us. And if you brought girls, you got in for free.
Right. Right. Because, you know, females are just currency, right?
That's a very bad way to think about it, but you know, it was more just that they didn't want, you know, it's supposed to be like a party fun, and
Right. Nobody wants a sausage party.
yeah. And so it was hard to get, I mean, girls liked it. Like they liked to dance and all that kind of stuff. So it was fun. But if it was just like, you know, you and all your bros showing up, it's like, okay, you guys are going to show up, drink all the liquor and leave. Like, yeah, you got to pay. So
I'm just
Right.
picturing him and all his friends at like this Winfield Walmart at 9 p.m. just cleaning out the glow stick aisle and then stopping by for the Vicks vapor rub.
man, like if you could picture, like I think back about it and like the way, like you can picture how like rave girls dressed. That's how it was. But like we're in Kansas, so
You're
yeah.
in Walmart with like, they got neon green fishnets on.
Yeah,
and-
yeah, exactly, dude. Like they got the little fuzzy boots and
Yep.
everything. Yeah, it was
Nobody wonders what's happening.
no, they everyone knows. But then I would be dressed like this, like
Yep.
sometimes, you know, they, you know, we'd throw some glow stick necklaces on and stuff or whatever. But
Vicks sticks.
yeah,
You know what I'm talking about, Joe?
I do not.
Okay. Well, never mind.
we can talk about. We'll tell you later.
Yeah.
I'll tell you afterwards.
Yes. I mean, you know, I might have saw it on Discovery Channel or something, but you know, so yeah, I'm having a hard time tracking with moving to the next. So, you know, you're getting all that stuff in high school, you know, or not high school age, and you start moving into the auto mechanic stuff. What drew you to that?
I had just had experience like growing up. We would always just fix our own car. Like I cannot, for the life of me, remember a single time ever taking our car to the mechanic. Like my parents, either of them. We just always did it ourselves. I remember my mom called me out of school one day when I was in like middle school to help her replace like the radiator and all the hoses and stuff on her Suburban, because it like blew up on her when she was driving and she needed it fixed. And so she called me into school and we walked down to AutoZone together, bought the parts, carried them back. One of our neighbors saw us walking back, like on this, like, you know, we're walking down like Webb Road, so like no sidewalks or anything. And they saw us and they're like, "Oh, you guys want to ride back?" And so we only had to walk 3/4 of the round trip. But so like, yeah, I just kind of had an interest in that, and it seemed like relatively achievable, because I had friends that like, I had a girlfriend and her dad worked at Flight Safety and like made big money. And I was like, there's no way I could, like, I don't even know, how would you even start to do that? But like auto mechanic stuff, I was like, oh, that's reason I could do that. Like I know a pathway into that. So I went through all that, got my degree and stuff, got my certifications, went to go get a job and realized that being a mechanic sucks. It's fun working on your own car. Well, other people might not feel this way. It's fun working on your own car. But when you have to work on other people's car and they're gross, they're full of, you know, they're like, oh, there's an electrical issue to get in the car and it's full of roaches or trash and all this other stuff. That sucks. And then working on them when you're getting paid and you're on a time crunch and this bolt's rusted and it broke, and now this 4-hour job is an 8-hour job, is very stressful. like when you're on the clock and you got a boss down your throat. So I realized that wasn't for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Although your dad still works on all my stuff for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, I still enjoy work. I work on my wife and mine's car. I work on them. We don't ever take them to the shops or anything. So I guess it paid off in the, the schooling and everything I took paid off in the sense that like I have those skills now and use them in my personal life, just not in my professional life.
Right. Right. Can't take those away from you.
Yeah.
So, you didn't want to be a mechanic. Like was that your first job after you finished the class, was mechanicing for a little bit?
I think I worked at like Walmart for a day and then realized that really sucks, so I quit. I worked at Sears for a day, and that also sucked, so I quit. Actually, maybe that was 2 days. I don't remember exactly.
So what parts did you work in? Like Walmart and then Sears?
Walmart, I was stocking like shelves overnight. And I do remember that because the first day I worked there was my dad's birthday, I started work the day before. So I got off at 7 a.m. on my dad's birthday, texted him happy birthday, and went to bed, woke up, and saw that I had like an hour or like a couple hours till I had to go to work again. And it's because I just slept all day because I had stayed up all night working. And I was like, this sucks. I'm not doing this. And so I just quit. And it was Walmart, so they were paying like $7 an hour or whatever. And yeah,
Right.
Sears was like that was like a holiday job. So
Like seasonal for Christmas?
yeah, it was like seasonal, like Black Friday, Christmas time and stuff. So it was like just running stock rooms and unloading trucks and stuff like that.
Yeah, that doesn't sound terrible, but
Yeah. No one wants to work with you. No one wants to talk to you. No one wants to train you because you're seasonal.
right.
So it's like, oh, this just sucks. Let me go get a real job.
Right. And what'd you go get?
My friend's dad was working in a Section 8 housing complex as the maintenance supervisor or something. I don't know what you'd call the position, but it basically was doing the maintenance at this Section 8 housing complex or apartment complex. And he's the dad of two of my really good friends at the time. And I don't know how the conversation came up. He's like, hey, you want to come work with me? Because he knew I had like worked on cars and like was relatively mechanically inclined. And I said, yeah, sure, that'd be cool. I like, I'm kind of shy, so like being able to go get a job where I can work with somebody I know that's money. That's awesome. So yeah, and so I started going in there, and he taught me how to work on stuff. He originally went to like air conditioning school at Cowley or something, and so he taught me how to work on air conditioners, taught me how to patch drywall, taught me how to paint. As stupid as that sounds, there are some tricks to it. And appliance repair, sinks, plumbing, electrical. He taught me a bunch of that stuff. Or some of the stuff I went out and learned on my own. I'd buy books or I'd watch YouTube videos on how to, try to expand my knowledge so I feel competent.
Right. Right. That's a huge array of things to be able to do. Like, I don't know, man. It's like, I tried to handyman before I started my business, I tried to like handyman, and people like, hey, do you know how to do this? And it's like, no, I don't know how to do that exact thing. I was kind of thinking like this whole list of stuff over here, but I didn't know how to narrow it down. Like, being maintenance and stuff, it really is amazing to have knowledge in all those areas.
Yeah, I kind of have a thing of like, there's a push into, I hear I have friends that are in trades, like linemen and stuff, and they talk, there's jokes about maintenance guys because they're jack of all trades, master of none type of thing. But lots of times they just mess stuff up, and it's like, call a professional. But I try to learn how to do everything correctly. So like if I'm trying to learn how to do wiring or do whatever, try to learn how to do it actually correctly. And plumbing, that kind of thing. I try to learn like what the actual codes are and stuff. But you are right. There's like, it is all encompassing. It is like kind of insane that like the job I do now, I do maintenance now still at a nonprofit. And it's like everything I do, like most guys are, I'm just electrician, or I'm just a plumber, or I'm just this. And it's like, I do all of it. Which sometimes sucks, but at the same time, I'm just that type of person that like, if, like you said, well, someone asks you to do something and you're like, I don't really know how. My answer to that is usually, I don't know how, but I can figure it out. And sure.
Right, right. You know, but think I feel as though you have to have a certain level of just an absolute love for learning, because I can figure it out doesn't often pay the bills. You have to have like a certain amount of like dedication that you want to do it. You want to learn those things. Cause like when people ask me to do stuff that I don't know how to do it in my business, it's like, I, they can't, I'm not gonna make you pay me to learn. And I don't really have time to learn that right now.
Yeah, I think I kind of have like a tick in me that's like to be like wants to be helpful. So like if if I can learn more things that I can be more helpful. So I kind of like go out of my way to learn, it's like, oh, hey, I don't know any guy that's does, I don't know anybody that's a welder. It's like, oh, I'm going to learn how to weld. That way you can know a dude who's a welder, that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's real cool. So how people have a weird perception of like guys that like to play video games, stuff like that. Like, the perception being, not too popular with the ladies, but you have an amazing wife. She's like super cool. She cuts my hair. So if she needs the plug, we'll definitely do that later with her permission. But she's fantastic at giving the haircuts and doing all that. And how'd you wrangle that?
We met friends of friends. Like one of my friends, his girlfriend was her best friend. Like he was my best friend and his girlfriend was her best friend. So they kind of came and basically were like, hey, he was like, hey man, I got my girlfriend's got this friend and she's in this relationship and they're always on again, off again. This guy's leading her on and not treating her right. You should talk to her. And I was like, that sounds like drama I don't want to deal with. And so I kind of put it off. And like 6 months to a year later, we ended up, they pushed it harder and made it happen. So, we met, hang out one time, and she was from Augusta and saw me, and I had a motorcycle, and I was at school. I'm from Wichita, and like, at that age, like people had kids from Augusta, they're like, country bumpkin, like, oh, and so Wichita, it's like, man, Wichita, those are like the kids from there. Everyone's a gang member. Everyone's this. It's wild in Wichita. Not that it's that way, but in her head, she's like, oh, this is a bad boy. He got a motorcycle. He's from Wichita. He does all this. And I trapped her.
There you go. There you go. I actually think that's probably the other way around.
Yeah. But yeah, we dated for like 6 months, and then she ended up moving in because she floated the idea of moving in with me to her parents, and her parents lost their minds and kicked her out, which doesn't really make sense. But and then that night they kicked her out. My mom and I drove out to my mom came with me just as emotional support, I guess, for her really, and picked her up from Augusta and drove her back to my house and lived with me ever since.
So your mom and your wife, they jive pretty good?
Yeah.
That's super important.
Yeah. No, my mom, yeah, my mom, she likes my mom. My mom likes her. They pick on me. Like they team up on me. So.
Right. And you deserve every bit of it.
I can't argue, I guess.
So, you guys got together and, this is where the story gets a little personal, cause like I met your dad, you kind of alluded to earlier, like you guys started to talk a little more. I'll let you kind of tell the story of the sequence of events that led up to, you kind of you and your dad repairing that and, how we kind of got to know each other, and just kind of walk me through that.
So my dad got out of prison, I think in 2011 or somewhere around there. And so he was out of prison and sober and kind of just around. Like, we would see him on Christmas or something like that, but he was doing his own thing. I was doing my own thing. I remember like when I first saw him, it was weird because I hadn't seen him in so long, 7 years. So I was taller. My voice was deeper. I'm just physically bigger than him. So it was weird. So I don't know. He was like around, and I could probably call him and he would answer, but it wasn't like we weren't calling each other just randomly just to talk or hanging out randomly or anything like that. It was just mainly like Christmas or birthdays. And then it kind of just went like that. Just really wasn't, it was like, all right, my dad wasn't in my life for a long time. So, he's like sort of here now, whatever. And then, but we're still friendly with each other. Then years down the line in that, he had a relapse. And I was the one that, they called me. They're, hey, is he over here? And so I ended up finding him, and the whole thing broke, down. But it was okay. It wasn't like a terrible relapse. Not like he just like went completely MIA for years on end again. Uh, and that kind of, I had like a breakdown night with him, and we're giving him a hug. I'm telling him it's okay. And we're talking about stuff a little bit. And then after that, he met you, right? And, he just kind of, I don't know, something this time on his sobriety this time is just way different. He's been way more engaged. And then, man, he invited me to one ride one time, and I said, sure, I'll go. I'd gone before with like him, like one other time with some guys, and I was kind of like on it. So I was kind of nervous about this. Like, I was just gonna be kind of lame like last time. It was not lame. It was super, super cool. And then since then, I mean, my dad has been, dude calls me, or I call him at least once a week, if not 2 or 3 or 4 times a week. And I've seen my dad more probably in the last 5 years than I have in the past 15 years before that. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
that's pretty
insane.
cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember the first couple of runs. I don't remember exactly which ones. I think maybe the one was in Missouri, the first one.
Very first one, was camping.
Yeah, camping in Missouri. And we have a lot of fun with that. And you like, I wanted to like make you feel welcome and stuff like that, but I don't really have any like point. I didn't know anything about you other than you're John's boy.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of quiet, and then I think you came on a couple more, and then I ran into you one day at Quick Trip right before a run, and your dad wasn't gonna be able to make it because of some scheduling conflicts, and I was like, "Hey, are you going this weekend?" And you were like, "Oh, sure."
Yeah, I remember that kind of. I didn't feel trapped, but I'm like, oh, hey, here's Joe, and are you coming? I'm like, well, I didn't. My dad didn't bring it up about me going. Oh, your dad's not going. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I want to go. And then, I asked my wife, and she said, yeah, sure. And away I went. Joe kidnapped me.
Right. Yeah, I'm just trying to learn how to ride my motorcycle from you.
I don't know if I'm much helping that.
Yeah, I've seen you like jump your Harley.
Yeah,
on purpose.
That did happen.
Couple 1.5 feet in the air, flying through the air off of a sidewalk.
Every time someone tells me that story, it gets bigger.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just like running up to a curb. We had a little one fall down in that roundabout, got some sand, and you like just popped your bike up on the little median. I'm like, well, that's a pretty cool trick. I don't know that one.
Yeah. I kind of motorcycles. I like to, think about like bicycle. It's like you ever stunt around on your BMX bikes as kids doing stupid stuff and jumping. And I was big into that. I guess I was big into jumping BMX bikes, and I had a half pipe in my yard growing up. My dad built me before, like one of his little sober stints for like a year. He built a half pipe in my yard and skateboarding, all that kind of stuff. So
I did a lot of that. Wasn't any good at it. I mean, I was really good at jumping off of stuff.
Yeah, me either. But I carry that over into motorcycles. They're just big bicycles, so you can do a lot that you don't think you can.
Right. So if you are mom or dad out there listening to this, just let the kid get the motorcycle. It's just a little bit bigger bicycle.
It's cool. All it is.
It's all right. They can wear their protective equipment. It's good.
Yep.
So, that kind of brings us to current. So, I've been meaning to ask you, like, I'm kind of ignorant about stuff, and you're sharp with computers. You're sharp in a lot of ways, and you actually 3D printed Rocky here, from like a hospital scan of a skull. And like, I don't even understand how 3D printing work. Like, is it just whatever the material is, it like just shooting the material at it, like painting on top of it, or what?
So like like most of the 3D printing stuff you've seen from me is basically just like a hot glue gun, and it just sculpts it. It basically, it's like a CNC machine basically sculpts a hot glue gun until the thing's built. This particular one is made with basically an LCD screen that flashes a UV light on a UV like curing resin in the pattern of this, and then it like goes up a little bit, and it does a bunch of little paper thin layers until the whole thing's built up.
And how long did it take from the time you hit go to the time it was able to be handled?
For that guy, about 9 hours.
9 hours?
Yeah, but this particular process is a lot more highly detailed and involved. So, um, I think if I did one the other way, it would have probably been about 4.
Oh, cool. This higher quality then, or
Yeah, yeah. So these are the they're called resin printers. So they print off of they use like a UV curing resin, and they use an LCD screen, meaning you can get as detailed as that screen. So if that screen's a 4K screen, you can get basically 4K resolution. I mean, it's in physical form, so it doesn't exactly work like that, but
right? I understand what you mean
yeah.
to that detail extent. So we've already kind of talked about your hobbies a little bit. Riding motorcycles. Would you have any other hobbies?
Um, and I make music. I play music. I make music. Play instruments. Um,
Instruments?
Instruments. I started. I got a guitar when I was like got an acoustic guitar when I was really young. Because I wanted to play guitar and that was cool. Ladies. Doesn't work by the way, but no one cares. The ladies don't care. But the yeah. So I started playing guitar, and then obviously playing guitar, it's like, oh well, I'll just play a bass. It's just a guitar with 2 less strings. Same thing. Which kind of is, but a little more involved. And then I started kind of making my own music, recording stuff on the computer, and was like, man, I need someone to play drums. I didn't know anybody that plays drums, and drums are like, unless someone's like wants to be a drummer, you can't just like get your friend to pick up the drums. So I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna be a drummer too. So I bought a drum set to play with, and yeah, so now I'm also a drummer. And then I do some like not DJ, but I make like I got some like synths and stuff like that I also play. Like, so I don't play like the piano, but I play the keyboard is the way I put it. So it's a little different. If you want me to play like Moonlight Sonata, that ain't happening. But you want me to play, Darude Sandstorm, I can do that.
Deep cut.
So, you actually played all the instruments and stuff on our intro, right? Like you built
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Because like within a day, we talked about like some entrance music, to just kind of, kick off the podcast and everything. And I think it was the next day you had 16 or 17 sound clips that were a couple minutes long. How many of those did you have had you already done and didn't have a use for? I mean, how did that come about?
It was a weekend difference, or it was like 2 days. And it was, I basically had, it's a lot easier to make things that are short like that, at least for me, because it's, I can make, 16 things that I'm like, oh, I'm not trying to like do a whole composition and like make start to end. It's like, we just need like kind of short spots, for it. It's easier to just pick out. It's easier to like get a 15-second thing than trying to get a bunch of 15-second things and then tie them all together so it all sounds smooth. But I don't think there might have been some of those that I think some of them might like the drum patterns, or like I might have recorded before, or might have been things that were pre-recorded that I used. Because like when you go in there, it's all played. There's like MIDI notes and stuff like that. So it's like the tempo is like pre-drawn, but then you have to add in your own instrument parts of it. So some of that might have been done. And then some of it might have also been, I don't think anything I had already recorded. Yeah, there were a couple of those that I just kind of was messing around with, and I'm like, oh, we're not going to use this, but I just spent the time because like I'm in the zone right now.
Right. Well, that's cool. So the next thing I was going to talk about is your doggies. You're a dog person, and I came and picked you up the other day and got to meet both of your dogs. What's their stories like?
Both my dogs are adopted from the Kansas Humane Society. One of them is she's a pit bull. I think she's 7 or close to that. She's super nice. She was brought in with a bunch of other, like 3 or 4 other dogs at the same time. I think they were all siblings. Yeah, she's super sweet. I don't, nothing ever wrong with her.
She's a little afraid. I was able to.
Yeah, I think she might have been a little abused before we got like wherever she came from, but yeah, she's a nice dog.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart.
And then my other dog, my German Shepherd, she's I think 3. Well, you don't actually know their ages because they came from the pound, but I think she's like 3. she was very nervous of like people of like leashes and stuff when we first got her. I don't know why. The Humane Society said they thought maybe she was like always chained up outside or something. Because I think she came in also like stray, like with 3 or 4 other dogs, and they think she was like chained up or something because she was not about the leashes like the first couple months. And but yeah, she's also a good dog. Luckily we don't have kids, so we can spend a lot of time with the dog. So our dogs are pretty well behaved, at least outside of the house. Inside of the house, they kind of are a lot, but
Right. Well, that is, we got one more feel good question, and we got a couple heavy hitters.
okay.
So the next feel good question is, what is Brandon's biggest pet peeves, or what are? I'll speak proper English.
What do be?
What they be, bro?
Yeah. I think pet peeves. I guess I kind of have a pet peeve. I like it's just when people like cover up words. So like if you have a toupee and you call it a hair system, like it's like just call it a toupee. Call it what it is. Or if you drive a minivan but you say I drive a SUV, it's like no, it's a minivan, dude. Don't call just be honest. That's kind of a pet peeve. It's not like it doesn't make me that angry, but it's just like it's annoying. Like just say what you mean.
Right, not a crossover SUV, a short bus SUV.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're not. Yeah, and it's because you want. People do that because they want to. The original word has a negative connotation in some sense.
Right.
So,
Do the reverse strikes fall into that for you?
the reverse trikes. Calling them a reverse, like, what would you actually call it other than a reverse trike?
No, I mean
Oh, in a
when
pet
they get
peeve?
referred to as other things.
Oh, like as if they get referred to as a motorcycle.
I mean, I wasn't going to say that.
Oh, yeah, no, that bugs me. I had a guy when I used to have a Kawasaki Vulcan, and I remember I went to some motorcycle event, like at the Harley dealer or something, or Cycle Gear, and there was another guy that's like, yo, yeah, my bike, I got and he named off like a Polaris Slingshot or something, and I was like, what? Why are you could just be honest. Why are you saying my bike? Why are you calling it a bike?
Don't those have steering wheels? The
I-
slingshot?
I think so. I don't know.
Anyways.
I don't know the difference between the models because I've never looked at them, but it was one of those 3-wheel, things. And I was just like, dude, what do you, I don't know. Yeah, that does. Yeah. Yeah. Things like that, just call it what it is.
Yeah, man, I had a customer. I saw him, out and about at a gas station. I was riding my bike, and when I saw this thing, I was like, "Oh, good Lord, what is that?" And then the guy gets out of it because you don't get off of it; you get out of it like a cage. And I realized I know him, and it was like, "Nope, can't look him straight in the face. I can't even try to. Nope, gotta just hide my face because this is, there's no way I can be anything but, finding this funny."
This is the hot button. This is just because we're talking about this type of stuff. People that ride trikes, if you ride a trike because you need, there's some people that need to, and I get that. Like I knew one guy that was an old vet dude who was like missing a leg, so he just was like, I'm buying a trike because I can't ride a motorcycle anymore.
Sure.
He probably could have, but it was way too much work. That's cool. But I knew this one guy, and he bought a trike because he was scared of the motorcycle part. He's like, that's trike safer. They're not.
They're
but-
not safer.
yeah,
I've
not at
rode
all.
one.
Yeah, but that was his mind.
What did you say, Matt? They're not safe for what?
I rode one time. Yeah.
Oh.
It was like last Memorial Day or something. We were out at the wife's family's house, and
Do you have any pictures?
nah, I mean, her he's an older guy, but he's he's rode motorcycles a long time, and it's just hard for him now keeping, the legs and such. And so he bought him a Tri-Glide, and I was kind of peer pressured into it. We're all out there hanging out at the lake. He's like, "Oh, I'll take it for a spin." And I'm like, "Oh, we're out here literal middle of nowhere, Kansas. Like, no one will see me. It's fine."
Yeah, well, nobody would have known about it, but you said it on air. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I have no shame in my game, man. So yeah, we took it for a rip, bud.
Yeah.
And they are
they are dangerous.
they're more dangerous. They don't feel. I'm
Yeah.
trying to ride it like a motorcycle, and it don't ride like a motorcycle. So
yeah.
be
Yeah. So I guess
careful.
I don't have a problem with people that like need to ride a trike because they can't ride a motorcycle. But
Sure.
if it's like a young person that's just like gets a trike because it's safer or whatever their excuse is, if you can ride a motorcycle and you choose to ride a trike, I'm gonna look at you weird.
Right. Right. Yeah. Okay. So that covers the pet peeves. Now we're going to kind of hit a couple of tough ones. What are some things that you assign too much value to in your life? And I'll give an example. I'll give a personal example and expose myself first. If I don't have a certain number in the bank, and I know this number in my head, if I don't have that certain number in the bank, I feel like I'm less of a human being, less of a man, less of a person. You know, things happen, but that judgment of myself is unwavering for whatever reason. You know, so what are some things you assign too much value to in your life that probably don't matter as much as you?
Like part of it, I guess, is like dependability, and I like not the sense that it's like not valuable, but like I will have a thing where if like if like one of my friends calls, I had a friend call me one time at like 4 a.m. and I just slept through it, and I woke up feeling absolutely terrible, and I called him like, bro, I am so sorry. I like, what did you need? And he's like, oh, it's cool. Here's 4 a.m. I didn't really expect you to answer, but it was just kind of the off chance. He was broke down, needed someone to come pick him up. And he's like, just an off chance you answered. I was like, oh, and I felt bad like about that for weeks. And like, I was like, hey, can I apologize to him every time I saw him, like, hey man, by the way, I'm really sorry for that. So probably too much on that. Like, just like, I feel like letting, I feel like I'm letting someone down when I'm really not, like, in that sense, at least not in that exact moment. So that's probably something I like assign too much onto, is like trying to be overtly dependable. Like, if I fail, everybody dies. Where it's usually not that serious.
Right.
Other than that, no, I don't really have money things. I kind of don't pay attention to money. Like, I pay attention in the sense that like I need it and like make sure bills and stuff are paid, but I'm never like, oh, if I didn't make this much, I didn't save this amount of money this month, I am failing. I guess I have like general goal, like ideas, but I don't really feel like less of a person or anything if I mess that up. Maybe, yeah, I don't know, that dependability thing. It's like the big thing that's like, I think I overly assign things to that.
Sure. And that's one of those things where you can have an asset and take it so far it turns to a defect.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. So, and then my last question of the day is what made you want to do this podcast? Why are you doing this? This is a lot of work.
Why am I doing this? Because Joe asked me to, and he said if I didn't, he'd beat me up. No. Like you brought it up, right? You were just kind of, not you're like, hey, do you want, yeah, I need you to do this. It's just like, hey, would you be interested? And I thought that it's it's a good excuse to hang out with both of you guys. Like, you can't get away right now. We're locked in here. So, yeah, it's a good excuse to hang out. And then, I'm sorry, I don't know why. I just had to laugh. Something about Matt's face right there. The face he made just got me good. But yeah, just a good excuse to hang out. I think at the same time also it gives me something to like push towards. This is like a little scattered, but I feel like, like I could always be practicing practicing instruments more or practicing other things. But this just gives me something with a like tangible goal I can see happening. And just gives me something to like work at and improve, and like kind of gives me a drag in the chase. If that makes sense. So, and there's probably some good things that'll come of it. Make me have to reflect on things or learn things, right? I like learning things. Learning things is cool.
Very cool. That's a great answer. Also did kind of want to mention that we had somebody that's close to us. I don't know how much I can share or can't share. But we will have merch coming up. Had somebody build us these. They're pretty cool. As the camera, you can see it. I can't.
I can move it up there.
Help me out. Yeah. Pretty doggone cool coasters. We're gonna have some t-shirts. We're gonna have some coasters coming up, and obviously somebody just did this out of the kindness of their heart, so we know where we're going to buy them from. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, my dad makes those. So if you do have a business out there and you have any kind of logoed stuff you want made, reach out. We'll get you in touch with them.
Okay, sorry, I was kind of fly by the seat of my pants, and I was like,
No, you're
dang,
good.
I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to say here.
His dad's like, yes, plug me.
Yeah. But there's that line. I guess you can reach out on social media. We'll have social media platforms up by the time this airs, and kind of reach out and make those connections. So Matt, do you have any questions for Brandon?
Man, you covered a lot of stuff.
You're welcome.
I don't have any specific questions. Just silly shit, I think, while we're talking. But I think it's something that's kind of cool. More like comments than questions, but something about like the three of us. We get all sitting around a campfire, and the way our three minds work together when we're together. I think it's something unique about it. So I almost wondered if that's part of what draws you in to want to do the podcast too.
I think so, because I think when Joe originally floated it to me, it must have been post a campfire we were sitting around, and I mean, I was out there till like 4 a.m. with you guys. I was like, yeah, this is I am stimulated right now, to say the least.
Yeah. We go deep in the murky waters.
Yeah. So I think, I think after having that experience, like when Joe brought it up, I'm like, of course I want to hang out with you guys and talk about stuff, whatever it may be.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sweet. No, I don't have any other questions though, man.
Well, good episode, guys. This is Joe and Co podcast out.